Okay, thank you, Tom. Everybody hear me okay? Okay. Yeah, if you don't hear me, raise your hand. Okay. I was going to wear my bright green jacket, you know, because I wear my politics on my sleeve a little bit. But, you know, this campus and the building heat in here reminds me a little bit about SIU. There's something about our state university system that apparently makes it impossible to understand the art of modern temperature control. You know, it's the same thing, for what it's worth, it's the same thing at SIU. You just absolutely fry until May, and then you freeze until October. You know, they just don't, they haven't invented the thermostat there apparently. And so I feel right at home here. Anyway, thanks Tom, and thanks to the Prairie Greens and to the Campus Greens for sponsoring this event and making this possible. And I'm very happy to be in another wonderful and storied university town of Champaign-Urbana. Since I am speaking to a university audience in a university town, let me cut right to the core of what I suspect are going to be your main concerns, namely, what can state government do, what should state government do, and what will I fight for if elected? A, to ensure the quality of higher education, B, to ensure the affordability of higher education, and C, to ensure that you will have decent job opportunities when you graduate, or if you already work here, that you will continue to have a presumably decent job. Before I get into the specifics, let's be clear about one thing. The other candidates for governor and the Democratic and Republican Party candidates for state office generally are not going to help you in any of these areas. Now, I'm not saying this to, you know, go negative. You know, I actually happen to think Pat Quinn is a very nice guy. Nor am I arguing that you should vote for me because the other two candidates are worse, although for some of you, maybe that will be enough. I'm simply stating a demonstrable fact. I don't have to tell anyone here about the horrible impact of the current fiscal year's budget cuts. Loss of jobs, loss of curriculum, furloughs, higher tuition, higher fees, basically paying more for less. Now, add on to that the diminished pensions for future workers enacted last week to appease Wall Street after being railroaded through the legislature in 12 hours. Talk about high-speed rail, huh? Maglev trains are nothing compared to the Madigan Express. We're in a disastrous situation, suffice it to say, and under either Bill Brady or Pat Quinn as governor, these attacks on higher education will continue. Brady is talking about balancing the budget by cutting spending across the board, which, speaking of trains, will be nothing less than a train wreck. Yet under Pat Quinn's budget proposal, funding for higher education will be cut by $103 million, a 4.6% decline. And when you adjust for inflation and population growth, that amounts to an 11% decline. And that's only part of the story. Just a couple of days ago, I attended a symposium with the Center for Tax and Budget Accountability, where I get a lot of my information, and I would strongly encourage you, don't take my word for it. If you want to get the facts on the budget, go to ctbaonline.org and read for yourself. They tell the truth about what's going on with our budget. And I just want to quote from their analysis of Governor Quinn's general fund budget proposal for fiscal year 2011. They say, of even more concern, approximately $5.7 billion appropriated in the fiscal year 2011 general fund budget proposal has no revenue source to cover the spending. This means that Illinois state government will require schools, human service, and healthcare providers to deliver $5.7 billion of public services in fiscal year 2011 that will not be paid for until fiscal year 2012. In effect then, to pay for its $24.5 billion in fiscal year 2011 general fund appropriations, the state would have to borrow $5.7 billion from service providers in fiscal year 2011, in addition to the $4.7 billion in bank debt it will incur. In other words, fully 42% of the state's basic operating budget in fiscal year 2011 will be covered by one-time debt, not recurring revenue. 42% of the budget is not going to be paid for in the same fiscal year 2011 budget. It's magnifying, it's compounding the very problem that we're trying to solve, right, or some of us are trying to solve right now. In sharp contrast, my budget plan, available in excruciating detail at whitneyforgov.org, in that budget plan, I'm proposing an increase in funding for higher education of $3.7 billion over 2 to 3 budget cycles, with about $2 billion coming in the first year, in order to make higher education affordable to all academically qualified Illinois residents in the short term, and by year 3 of a Whitney administration, making it tuition-free for all academically qualified Illinois residents. Now, some of you may be thinking, oh, come on, that's pie in the sky stuff. The state can't pay its bills now. How are you possibly going to get money to pay for this? In fact, I answered that question in detail in my policy paper, available on the website, How We Can Solve the Budget Crisis in Illinois and Build a Full Employment Economy with Good Jobs for All Who Need Them. Now, as you might tell from that overly lengthy title, I did not get my degree in marketing. But to me, part of the problem with government today is that we, the people, are not sufficiently familiar with the details of public policy, not sufficiently engaged in it to play our role as the fourth branch of government, the people, and what we need to do. We need to be more involved, not just in demanding what we want, but in understanding what must be done to get it. And that's part of what the Green Party and its mission are all about. We are dead serious about achieving the goal of government of, by, and for the people, not government of the corporate campaign donors, by the corporate lobbyists, and for the wealthy elite. That's why we set a good example by refusing all corporate campaign contributions. When you vote for a Green Party candidate, you can rest assured that you are voting for someone who is unbought and unbossed. But to achieve this goal of government of, by, and for the people, we, together, the people, have to be involved. Hopefully in your party, the Green Party, but in any event, in what's supposed to be your government. We, the people, can no longer afford to look at politics as a spectator sport that we just passively consume by watching negative ads on TV for a few months, deciding which politician we dislike the least based on a few sound bites, and then walking into a voting booth once every 2 years if the weather's not too bad and if we remember to register in time. That won't get it. If we want a truly democratic republic or representative democracy, we the people have to be involved. Now, we hear a lot of rhetoric these days from certain voices on the right, a vocal minority whose voices have been deliberately amplified and promoted by the corporate media, that government itself is the problem. Government is too big. Government can't do anything right. Government only interferes with prosperity. That kind of thinking is mistaken on many levels. And it's mighty peculiar to me how some of the loudest voices declaring that government itself is the enemy seem so determined to be in charge of it. And in fact, when their ilk is in charge of it, they tend to do their best to make all their declarations about the evils of government come true. But the most fundamental error of this way of thinking is that it looks at government as an it or them. And in a democratic republic, government is not supposed to be an it or them. It is supposed to be us. And it can and will be us determining our future, a better and brighter future, if we get involved and become the government we want to see.